When quarantine first started in March, many of us couldn't fathom the impact that COVID was going to have on us. Maybe at first for some people it was like, oh, this is kind of nice to have some extra time to spend with my family and to not feel so busy. But really quickly we began to feel isolated and lonely. And one of the things that COVID has been showing us is our need for community and connection. If there was a momentary interaction that I had with an acquaintance or someone I hadn't spoken to in years, I found myself trying to draw out that conversation. I was just so thirsty for connection. And I think it's just reminding us that we're not meant to go through life alone. But the good thing about this is, just because we have to be socially distant does not mean that we need to be socially isolated. There have been a lot of downsides to coronavirus. It's an evil thing and its effects are devastating on so many levels. But I believe that God is really good at turning evil into something good. And He's demonstrated that so many times throughout history. If you go back to the Old Testament, there's the story of Joseph, whose brothers sold him into slavery in Egypt. But what none of them could have known was that decades later, he was going to rescue his family from a famine because of that decision that they had made for evil that God turned around for good. The best example of this, though, is Jesus. People killed him and crucified him, and what they intended to be an evil thing was the ultimate good when he prevailed over death by coming back to life and rescuing every single one of us for all eternity. Good triumphs over evil, and God is so good at turning around evil for good. For me, one of the maybe few upsides of this COVID season has been the opportunity to connect with my neighbors. No one in the spring, everything was canceled. No one had anywhere to go or anything to do. And so it was really cool. On a sunny Sunday afternoon, we'd walk around our neighborhood and everyone would be outside and we would say hello, and it felt like, wow, there's a sense of community and seeing people that we otherwise would not have had a chance to see or know. The sense of belonging to our neighborhood community was stronger than I've ever felt it before. One of my neighbors started drumming every evening at 7 p.m. and our whole neighborhood would join in. It brought us all together, and so people would bring bowls and spoons from their kitchen or garbage bins to bang on, or just makeshift toys, noise-making toys. And it was a way to thank frontline workers, but it quickly turned into an opportunity for us to connect. And so for a few minutes after we were finished drumming, neighbors would kind of gather at a distance and chat across the street to each other, and it was a really great time to build those relationships. And while we haven't been drumming for the last few months, those relationships have maintained and grown. And so this opportunity of just connecting over something as silly as drumming together every night has led to opportunities to support neighbors when they've had a death in the family or struggles at work, and we've also been able to celebrate things together. And so if you can imagine that something like that can happen just on a small scale in one little neighborhood, imagine how that could be for the church, how we're supposed to be able to support each other. In 1 Corinthians 12:26, the church is challenged that we're one body, and when one part suffers or hurts, then we all suffer together. And when one part is honored, we all rejoice together. We'd love to see this expressed within your encounter groups too, as you celebrate and support each other. Hebrews 10:24-25 says, let's think of ways to motivate each other to love and good works. And don't neglect meeting together. Some people get in the habit of doing, but continue to gather together to encourage each other, especially now that the day of Christ is drawing ever closer. If we're called to motivate each other to love and good deeds, then it makes sense that we would need to get to know each other and see what kind of gifts do you have that you could offer to others. And that takes time. It takes time to build trust and to build relationship. I want to challenge you in these encounter groups to practice a little bit of vulnerability and sharing your own story, and to create a safe space for others to share their story too. The more that you spend time together and share authentically with each other, the deeper those relationships are going to become. I want to challenge you to prioritize these encounter groups that you're going to meet together every week. And I know that meeting together looks a little bit different these days, and it's hard because we can't be together in person and there's glitches with technology and it can be hard. I get it. But it's so important now more than ever for us to foster these relationships and build community. COVID has been teaching us how hard it is to be isolated and how much we need relationships, and this is a great opportunity for you to meet that need and to provide for other people who need you. And I know screen fatigue is real, Zoom fatigue is real, but maybe you need to sacrifice some screen time in another area of your life to prioritize this, to say this matters, these relationships are important, I want to grow and I want to build community, and so I'm going to prioritize this 45 minutes every week and maybe give up some screen time somewhere else to make this happen. I hope that you recognize the importance of community and the way that these encounter groups can meet that need for you. As you think about a canvas, your own fresh start, I want you to consider what kind of relationships do you want coloring your life?